up? It's your boy Dave B. You watching Dave Beyond TV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. And today, what I'm saying, we back again with an astrology breakdown. And this time, I'm getting a little fancy. I'm on the Zoom with it. So I kind of mess with the Zoom because I could throw up the actual chart beside me or behind me and kind of reference things in real time. So testing this out, you know what I'm saying, and using this new microphone setup just because I'm tired of messing with the phone storage and stuff. I'll probably still be doing those videos, but anyway, let's jump right into it. So it's been a while, last time we talked, I think I was going over probably like the moon in Aquarius. So in the meantime, during the Sagittarius season, the moon has slid through Pisces and Aries, and we dealt with, a mix of, energies dealing with faith, definitely sensitivity, but the sun being in Sagittarius for the most part is putting us in a mode of kind of it's kind of two routes, right? Sagittarius can either be extremely avoidant towards growth and things that actually are beneficial for their growth, based upon them wanting to be more on the end of escapism and wanting to enjoy things and, not so much even, it's kind of like, it's not so much relax, but they like to expand into leisure. So it's a little different than relaxation. Relaxation might be more so a Pisces type of vibe where, relax is kind of to disconnect and, uh get away from things, escape things in a way in which you're kind of putting your, I guess, conscious mind in autopilot. But Sagittarius is more so expansion into leisure. So that sometimes it can be a certain aspect or a certain type of overindulgence that's more like, okay, let me maximize or go extreme on the things that I enjoy, and let me kind of just get the full, magnitude of my enjoyment. So, this is why Sagittarius energy sometimes would be the type to want to joke around and kind of, they'll be fun, light to be around, but you really don't, sometimes they can come off in a certain way in which you can kind of tell, like, okay, there's something a little bit deeper going on, but that might be kind of, affecting how they're actually, you know kind of like when you get that what is it, the tears of a clown vibe, where it's like, I could tell it's a little something going on maybe beneath the surface that they're not saying or they're not getting at, but we'll leave it alone for now. But for the most part, that's kind of what the Sagittarius energy type of vibe can bring. But now when the moon was sliding through Pisces, we was kind of dealing with that square between so that's Sagittarius on the negative end, right? Kind of on the negative end, and kind of that lostness, trying to, maybe you're going through something, maybe you're trying to balance out the reality of your situation, because that's a big theme during this time too. Being that we're in the, you know, the last portion of the, what is it, the last portion of the fall. This is kind of where you're at ground zero. Everybody's kind of facing ground zero, which in theory, when you're going through the fall season and things are around you are kind of, falling apart, or things are kind of dissolving, it kind of puts you in the state. Like I said, it's kind of two different ways you're looking at this. You kind of looking at it like all is lost, or this could be the beginning of a new chapter. This could be the beginning of something you see potential in, and that starts to get us into the higher octave aspect of Sagittarius, where you could be looking at this situation or in a circumstance in life where you start to see things actually working, like everything that you might have been investing in since the sun being in Aries, you're starting to see now the actual potential or the wisdom behind everything that you had to endure that might not have made sense during previous seasons. So during the summertime, you might have been going through hard times, or you might have been pushing yourself through something. And now Sagittarius brings that light at the end of the tunnel where you're like, oh, wait, hold on. Everything that I had been like doing in the places I was kind of putting my mind, you kind of starting to see like, oh damn, that I actually learned this skill, or I actually gained this ability. Now I actually see where all the pieces are connected to, and that starts to become a newfound uh kind of source of inspiration. And remember, we in the waxing period, and we coming in on the full moon. The moon now is in Taurus, so by this time we're kind of seeing the reality of that. But before we get into that, like I said before, the moon, when it was passing through Pisces, was kind of that middle point of us learning a lot more about the kind of the balance or the difference between, again, what is the actual, because like Sagittarius will show you something, right? And you can decipher the meaning and reasoning, and it's about the experience. But Pisces is kind of bringing it, it brought that extra layer that make you kind of challenge what you see versus what you actually believe, and seeing the difference between your pathway and kind of where you're trying to expand yourself and where you've kind of, again, held your beliefs, and where your own beliefs and own maybe even self-doubt or the ways you were looking at your situation might have been holding you back. So that was a time to kind of learn and reassess whether or not you had the belief system to match the kind of moral compass or sense of direction you was going in, or that vision that you thought you was kind of, following and shit like that, kind of bringing it all together, and I know it's a little weird talking about energies in retrospect, but I'm doing it just more so for context. So, the moon going into Aries, of course, it activated a lot of that Chiron and North Node energy. So again, getting a more emotional sense or connection to where your spiritual path is actually leading. And of course, it trines also with, or it trined with the Mars retrograde going on in Leo. So a lot of things that, again, this could have been that lighting that fire for a lot of people, or this could have been, um, you could have been very hard on yourself based upon what your image, kind of like, okay, you have this idea of who you were, but maybe you're seeing yourself through the lens of other people based upon their reactions to you, and you're starting to realize kind of the flaw in what you were putting out and how it doesn't quite match up with who you want to be or how you see yourself inside. So again, there might have been some difficulty kind of going through that transit, but on the positive end, a lot of strong reigniting of your direction and your fire and stuff like that. So, again, higher octave and low octave, when I say things like that, that just means like your perspective based upon your current circumstance, which you might be going through. Everyone's going through something different. So some people, it's all a spectrum. It's not, oh, I'm doing good or I'm doing bad. Sometimes there's a little bit of good in the bad, and vice versa, a little bit of bad in the good. That's just how life is. It's never black and white. Sometimes I feel like, at least when I was early on looking at transits and trying to figure out, okay, am I really, you know, doing the energies right? Sometimes you start to think of it in, it's almost like um you might look at it in a way of, am I doing good or am I doing bad, based upon how you feel or what's going on around you. Sometimes it's not about necessarily how you feel, but just the giving you the options or the ability to look at the possibilities and say, okay, well, whatever I'm going through, I can make something out of this. And so, at the end of the day, that's what life is about. It's about knowing yourself so that you can make the most out of what you have. So, look at these transits more so as just giving you hints as to why, what energies is coming from what direction. And once you know where it's coming from, now you can use your awareness to guide it, or to, point it in the direction you rather it go in. So let's get into the current energy. So we got the sun in Sagittarius, we got the moon in Taurus. So this naturally causes a in conjunction. So misunderstanding between, what we see, which is, or our actions, which is in the inspiration mode. We want to be optimistic. We want to strive for maybe more. We want to, act on things. We want to go extreme. But then there's the way we feel about things, or what we might be looking at and dealing with, which is the reality, stable, stuck. So this on a in its best way. Again, it's a misunderstanding, but the moon in Taurus is more so like saying, hey, let's ground some of these visions. Let's create something tangible with all this inspiration and this optimism. Is there something we can stand on, that we can actually create some kind of, can we make a product out of this vision? Can we make something tangible? So we build something on this? um that's kind of where the moon is at in a lot of ways. It's like the moon is exalted in Taurus. So if you've been planting the right seeds, this is a time in which you probably feel extremely secure in your own vision. So look at it this way. all this Sagittarius season, this whole new moon cycle, it's been leading you up to be able to say, you know what? I'm pretty firm in my beliefs. My beliefs is pretty stable. Even if what I believe and what I've been striving to and what my faith is and where I'm going as a spirit. And I say where I'm going as a spirit just because like Sagittarius is kind of like that fire that's it's that the symbol of Sagittarius is that arrow. So it's kind of like Sagittarius has a certain energy of movement, mobility. It's mutable. So there's movement in this season. This is a fire that needs to move, needs to know kind of, okay, needs to have that freedom. And again, the freedom can either be obtained in two ways. Either you're avoiding it, so you're lying to yourself and you're putting yourself in a cage based upon what you're not taking responsibility for now, or you are actually committing to the work and the work is building your sense of I keep using the word morality, but there's another word I think that better suits what I'm actually trying to say because Sagittarius is a sign in which in its highest octave, again, it's the energy of wisdom and it's the energy of morality, but in the sense of I want to use the word honor. It's kind of like if you think of somebody who's respectable in their field and they're knowledgeable in their art or in their craft or something like that. Somebody who's in high regard in their craft, they're a guru. That's kind of like the energy that on the other end of Sagittarius, the positive end, that's kind of what I'm getting at. So this energy or going through the season of Sagittarius, it makes you feel like, oh, I'm the guru at this shit. I'm knowledgeable. I'm doing things with integrity. And so it's honorable. And so you kind of rise to the occasion. And see, this is why even if you look in the zodiac wheel and you see Sagittarius right before Capricorn, that's kind of they go hand in hand. Because see, when you do things in the moral correct way, and when I say moral correct, I don't mean the Bible uh what is it plastic playtime version of what we think what people might tell you is morally right, like, oh, I read the Bible and I do this, I go to church and all this shit. I'm talking about you have true integrity and you have your character, because see, remember with fire is all about character definition. First of all, is it's the independence, the identity, and then it's the the fixed portion of it, which is like showing up, having charisma, developing that consistency in that character, and then you polish it with morality, integrity, and wisdom. So those are the higher aspects of your character. If you think of Aries as just your character identity raw, what I'm saying? That's why a lot of Aries energy is raw. It's respectable because it's raw and it's in your face and it's going to be raunchy a little bit. It's going to be itself. But then it gets to Leo and it becomes more of a showmanship. And it's the consistency. How many times can I show up as this person? And then you get familiar, you start to like them. It's the likability. But then when we get deeper into what that character is all about, that's where you get Sagittarius. And that's the polishing of it. Oh, this individual is not just a good actor or good in their craft. They actually have integrity. They're good. They're wise and they can teach others how to be good characters too. So that's kind of where we're at right now in the whole year and in the energy in general. It's like, where's the polish coming from? So a lot of people, again, if you haven't been doing the work this year, and then remember, this is a year 8. So a lot of the work, see, when I say the work, I'm referring to the energy of like the cycles as we've been going through them throughout the year. And then we also should consider what the year numerology was, which was 8. So 8 is all about understanding those inner cycles, those psyche loops that you might be in based upon whether it be trauma, things that are going on beneath the surface that not everybody can see, but are again key motivators for why you act the way you act. Again, a lot. This has been the year of um real deep shadow work, but it's a little different than it was in previous years. Like during a year 7, 2 years ago, the shadow work was more so about understanding your connection to, where are your higher messages coming from? Where's your advice coming from? Where's the balance at? And where is that shadow work at? And how do you balance between your own independent thought and then thoughts about like that sense of kind of like a higher sense. I don't want to get too deep into that, but I've been talking about it in the year seven videos. Like seven is the energy of kind of what they'll refer to as the genius or the um it's like the angel. The seven is coming from a higher angle, but if you aren't really, you could just as easily invert the seven and get a lot of ideas from the inverted seven. So that'd be, just like an angel, it could be the inverted form of that, which is more so on the demon end. And the demon end, again, not spookism, just saying like, lower thoughts or thoughts that oppose other things. So you're more so using your knowledge to oppose, not necessarily for the sake of balance, but for the sake of disharmony, for the sake of shaking things up, for the sake of being the devil's advocate, more so than actually using your messages and what you receive as a higher angle to um, either bring things together or to uplift or to change and create balance and harmony. So it's kind of like that. That's what we went through during the year seven, during what was that? So 2023. Now 2024, it's way more about you and it's about what kind of bullshit you be stuck in. And even though we can always point outside of us to references as to why we're triggered and what's going on, everything always points back to you, especially during the year eight, where you start to realize your own participation in these cycles and why things keep being like the way they are. And before, I forgot to say this in the beginning of the video, we currently got the Each One Teach One class going on at the moment. So, hey, go ahead and hit that. If you haven't already, send me an email with E1T1 in the subject line if you would like to be a part of our Each One Teach One class. If you don't know, it's a community-based learning network in which me and a few very talented, intelligent individuals are coming together to exchange all of our knowledge, our gems, and put them in one place. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was first thinking about making a course of my own, I was trying to figure out what could make it unique, and it inspired me to kind of go further and say, you know what, let me invite people I know that know more than me in different areas. And then that built just kind of this idea of, again, a network of very, again, we always talk about community and like minds coming together to build something greater. And that's exactly what we're doing. So it's a complete revolution of the education system in the sense of just it's a new way to learn, being interactive, being able to build and collaborate with one another. And again, it's all about encouraging and uplifting each other. And again, this when I say encouraging and uplifting, it's not just kumbaya. It's like us really getting down to some deep topics, and we go over things such as spirituality, mental health, holistic healing, all these different aspects of just again higher learning and going past going. It's almost like the class is about the classes we should have been getting before we get into whatever your career field is, even though we're going to be talking about certain things regarding, like, if you're an entrepreneur and things like that, we're going to be always relating things to the practical aspects of it. But um it's all those important things that many schools, no schools really are teaching at the moment. So, like I said, if you're interested in being a part of our Each One Teach One class, please feel free to, if you follow me on IG, you could DM me at DaveBeyondTV or 717 Conference. And if not, you can just email me, E1T1 in the subject line, at 717conference.info@gmail.com. All right. So let's get back into it. So, like I was saying, us going through a year eight at the moment, it's a lot of those cycles of ourselves that we keep stumbling and running into. And this has been the year to address those things. And see, the thing about it is no one can really check you on that. Um, it won't be apparent now, but it like I've been saying this, and a lot of other astrologers in this community been saying the same thing, where what you're going to start to see, the shifts going on in 2025, all of them are going to show who actually has broken those inward cycles and who is still kind of looped up in them based upon their ability. Even right now, the people who are more mobile, who have more expansion, you could see them kind of going different places and doing different things with others. Those are going to kind of be those first inklings of people who might have been doing some of the better shadow work. You know what I'm saying? When I say better shadow work, I just mean the right type of shadow work, kind of going in and figuring out what it is about themselves that creates um, their own problems, that creates their own cycles of, whatever you want to call them, whether you want to call them curses or, you know, y'all know what I'm talking about. Everyone has a certain pattern, a certain thing they keep on. It's like a scab they keep picking in every lifetime. They keep picking that same scab, and that scab is something that's going on more so mentally, and it has a lot to do with themselves more than it does anybody else. And it's not until they leave that alone and they figure out how to actually heal it, whether it's applying certain, again, thoughts and feelings, ointments and shit like that to heal that wound, and then also practicing movement with that wound, because it's like it's one thing to heal something, but you have to also, healing doesn't mean to completely neglect it or to, not actively use it. Um, a lot of times like this, especially when it comes to mental things, mental health things, for instance, let's say you went through a traumatic situation in a relationship. The answer is not to never love again or never put yourself in a situation like that again. The answer is more so to identify kind of your participation in things, right? Figure out where your energy begins and ends, and then where someone else's energy begins and ends. But once you identify where your energy is, then it's about spending time there. And then once you get time there to figure that part out, the next step, and which is this kind of the more difficult one, is to get back into the same space, but then choose to do different things in that space that reflect where you at now mentally. And that's one of the hardest parts, because the first instinct is going to be to cling to the things that kept you safe the first time, but those be the very same things that block us off from true connection and growth and all those good things, that we really need. But I understand it becomes scary, it becomes difficult. It gets more and more difficult, especially depending on the severity of whatever damaged you in the first place or caused trauma in the first place. But it's a necessary point, and I think that in general right now, that's where we at, energetically, where we have to be our own spiritual adults. We have to understand that, like, at the end of the day, um I'll be saying it like nobody really coming to save you. So you have to figure out ways to save yourself and even protect yourself in a sense. But part of protecting yourself is to get stronger, and part of getting stronger is kind of getting back out there and figuring out ways that you can put your energy in, put your energy in spaces, and not have to always feel like you have to walk on eggshells or feel like you got to like hide away. Be yourself. And the thing is, it's a matter of trust. And I think a lot of that kind of speaks to Mars retrograde, because Mars, the planet of war and bravery, courage, and things like that, character, charisma, uh that energy being retrograde has all of us looking at the way we go about conflict, whether externally or internally, whether it's our own internal conflict. A lot of time our internal conflict comes from what we think is external. So, how somebody sees us, or how, at least right now being in Leo, it's like it might be coming from, oh, they see me like this, or I want to be seen like that. And that frustration can cause us to kind of be in that kind of space of, wait, hold on, do I fight for it or do I hold back? And again, I've been saying too, when Mars got into Leo, a lot of what we needed to do was kind of flex a little bit and express ourselves so that we can have a sense of identity and courage that we can kind of hold on to, because Mars is going to be kind of in for a rough ride, because it's going to be retrograde for a hot minute, all the way into January, maybe in the 20s or something like that. And it's already 5 degrees. It's going to go back into Cancer. And when it goes back into Cancer, that's again Mars at a fallen state. So again, we might feel disconnected to our ability to really stand up for ourselves, or to fight for something, or to have passion and direct that passion to something we want to see grow. But you have to just understand that it's going through a rebrand. It's going through a, you know, we have to understand we might have to switch up the way we go about um our passions. We might just have to switch up the way we go about even aggression and things like that. The things that we choose to get fired up about, we might have to rethink about these things and figure out a better way to go about these things. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something to consider. Now, yeah, where was we? So, we was talking about the year 8. Yeah, the cycles. We're going into a year 9, which is again a lot of the shifts that we're in the midst of have a lot to do with. Again, number 9 is like the wisdom, the knowledge, the teacher, it's like the number of mastery in a sense. I don't like that word too much, but being a master of yourself and understanding who you are at the end of the day is really going to be the guiding force to make better decisions. And those who don't know themselves, again, these are the people who haven't hit that space where they're able to kind of take this shift and move in a direction in which that, again, it's the guiding force. So what they're being led by is not really themselves, it's what they think they are or what they want to be. So what you're going to have is when you're being led by what you think you are or what you want to be, a lot of times you make a lot of wrong turns or you get involved in things that don't actually serve your truth or your true essence or your who you really are, so they cause friction and these become things that you have to throw away later or kind of backtrack yourself from. So there's people, right now, that's kind of what we're going to be seeing, people who are being led by their true self, their authenticity, and then those who are being led more so by what they want to be seen as, which doesn't always mean a bad thing. Sometimes people want to be seen as good. They just don't know quite what their type of good is or what they're, here to do. So, it's not all negative. And if you're still trying to figure this out, again, be patient with yourself, and it's really a matter of sitting with yourself and asking the right questions, because there's so many retrogrades going on at the moment. You're not really going to know. You might question yourself if you don't already have a strong sense of it. Then you're really going to be questioning yourself right now, which, you know again, sometimes we need to ask ourselves questions so we can get the answer. The best thing you could do is ask yourself enough questions to actually develop the curiosity to find out. And yeah, so, and this is the energy, a good energy to find out. Something important to note too is Sun is in the third decan of Sagittarius now. It's 20 degrees, so that means that we're getting the emphasis of uh the Leo energy. So a lot of that is kind of settling all of that mobility that Sagittarius was doing. Now it's about starting to kind of come together and be fixated on what we actually want to do and express with the knowledge that we've accumulated. So hopefully you've been allowing yourself to jump through different, see different senses of the light, see different philosophies and get different information. And now what you can put together is something that is fixated, but it's something that can now be identified. It's something that you can make, and express. It's like taking all that mutable fire, but then containing it in some kind of fireplace or something like that. Or if you were to think of more so a metaphor of Sagittarius being a bunch of different, like say a person's memoir. So their life is a bunch of different, they talk to a bunch of people during their life, or like what's those shows, like a documentary or something like that, where you get a bunch of speakers who have different philosophies and then you put them in one body of work, whether it be a book or a documentary or something like that. So think of this part of Sagittarius as that whole body of work based upon all the different lights or flames that you was able to accumulate over the course of this season and really over the course of the year. But right now it's time to center it all in. So this is not the time in Sagittarius season to be, super uh hold on, am I doing that right? Hold on. First deacon, second deacon, third. Yeah, 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 I am. So yeah, this is not the part of Sagittarius to be, too whimsical here, there, everywhere. This is not the part of Sagittarius to be too combative and like, trying to debate and trying to kind of be the cardinal energy aspect of it. This is the fixed aspect of Sagittarius where we need to kind of start to bring it all in and make it make sense, make it somewhat grounded so that we can now kind of cultivate that character and that'll lead us into Capricorn, which will be again the initiator of the winter. So that's going to be what the new foundation looks like, what the new blueprint is based upon what we now know better to do and where we want to go with things and what we want to build. Um, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, so Venus went into Aquarius. So, Venus being in Aquarius, now that it's out of Capricorn, Venus in Aquarius, of course, is the air version of that Saturn type vibe. So now Venus in Aquarius is way more when it comes to love and how we going about it, um, is more so intellectual. It's more about, it kind of is more community based at the moment. It's more about how can we innovate this thing? How can we make this thing work better? We seen how it worked and we kind of figured out where the value was in the structure. But now how can we innovate that structure? How can we push that and make it something more unique? So right now, everyone has with Venus and Aquarius, everyone has a kind of an access to start to dig a little deeper within themselves to see what it is about them that's unique that they can start to cultivate value from. And this could be what we start to kind of center on. If you think about it, Venus being opposite Mars, right? Um, what we're passionate about and what we value, they're at odds, but what we're passionate about isn't quite making sense at the moment. It's like what we're passionate about, we just can't quite get to. So a lot of times, again, this is a time in which you could look at Venus and say, well, what makes it unique? And Venus is kind of there opposing Mars to kind of critique Mars a little bit and say, like, well, what makes that passion so special? What makes that passion unique? And so you can choose to get frustrated at this, where again, that passion can start to burn a hole in your head and you start to get like, headaches because of just how frustrated you are about not being able to move forward in something maybe. But Venus being here in Aquarius is kind of saying, well, cool, all right, well, when you're ready to think logically, and when you're able to kind of have a conversation, let's talk about what makes this thing unique. And that this thing I'm talking about, you within yourself, what makes you unique? That's where your value is going to come from right now. And it's going to square Uranus. So Uranus being the planet of change, rebellion, and uniqueness, in Taurus, that square of having to actually dig within yourself to see what it is what is it that is unique, and then kind of deriving value from that can lead to some very good self-discovery. um Venus is almost to, yeah, so that's kind of what Venus is going through right now. But when in the context of just external relationships or what you're trying to relate to, you're going to be relating to kind of like have, Venus in Aquarius is kind of like that love of your own energy. So it's kind of like if you haven't been being yourself, you're not going to be in a circumstance right now romantically that supports you being yourself. And that's going to bother that. That's going to start to make you want to distance yourself from things. Or on the other end of that, if you have been being yourself, you've been being authentic, chances are you're in circumstances that support that. And so you're going to find that the more you lean into that unique energy, the more it actually brings things closer to you, but in a healthy type way where you maintain your individuality, and whatever you're relating to, person, place, or thing, maintains its uniqueness. And there's a bond that is created there where it starts to become like, just a very healthy association. And so from that association, that's where you're going to get support. Now, this is important too because, we got Pluto in Aquarius too. So this is also a transformative time for love in a either positive or negative way. Again, negative way might not always be bad, but a negative way could look like you needing to distance yourself from certain things that you used to love, appreciate, and value, whether by force or by choice, you know what I'm saying? But depending on where you at. So people who might have been dealing with something, whether it be an addiction, they might have been abusing something, they might find themselves in a situation they get separated from that one thing that they've been valuing, not by their choice. But in the flip side, a positive way, it could be, or a negative way that can turn out to be positive might be, you choosing to distance yourself or ghost certain situations that you know aren't really benefiting you on any end as far as the what you're trying to relate to. So that's kind of like you taking power and control throughout this conjunction, you taking power and control, and you saying, well, let me put death or transform what I'm loving and appreciating in general. And that could spark something new in you to find something that's more suited to relate to you. So it could be on that end too. But all in all, in another positive way, um, again, this is transformative. So this could be a new way to value, depending on what house you have Venus in it or have Aquarius in at the moment. This is a whole new transformative way to value that space. So whatever house you got it in, let's say it's the first house. This is like a newfound appreciation for yourself. Second house, a new found appreciation for your unique values. So on and so forth. Third house, you a newfound transformative way to appreciate, your surroundings based upon, and it's all based upon what you've been doing though. Now, uh Venus is sextile in the sun. So this is an opportunity here, again, based upon what you've been doing. If you can see it, because see, Sagittarius is all about the vision of things too. So it's an opportunity in here if you can see it. So this is also where people are, based upon their uniqueness, can start to see different angles in which they can leverage that to, whether it be gain the money or whether it be just an opportunity based upon the way you're looking at something to make something work in your favor that could, beneficial. Venus could be money time. That's what's coming through, is just money, whether it be money or whatever it is that you value, because you might value something completely different, but here it is, you can get to it based upon you having the right vision or having the right perspective about what it is you interpreting and your meanings and reasonings of why you're doing things. Boom, or there's all of a sudden light that you can hone in on and tap into. Now the moon is currently squaring Venus. So again, you might have a frustration or a hard time grounding that uniqueness and turning it into a tangible thing to say, oh, that's valuable. So, again, more energy that kind of just points to getting to know yourself more and being patient with yourself, as you develop a understanding of what your value is, you know, because that's kind of a deep one. Like, a lot of times people don't really understand what their value is. We all have things that we aspire to be, talents that we have, a craft that we might be working in, even, hobbies that we might look at every now and then and say, you know what, I could do this professionally. But your craft ain't even it's not even your value for real. Like, your value can mean anything. And sometimes we forget that we are, being that we're spirits having a human experience, a lot of times we only associate value with things that we can do or things that are outside of us in some kind of way. Even like, think about it, like if you have a talent, right? Say you could sing or you could paint real good, you might say, oh, well, I'm valuable because I can paint real good or I can make music. But if you really think about it, you're so much more than just a creator of those tangible things. You know what I'm saying? A singer is valuable because of who they are. It's not about, the fact that they can sing. It's a lot of people that can sing. But the reason people want to listen to that singer instead of that one is because of who that person is, who that spirit is, and what they came to bring through the singing. Singing or any craft is just a medium to communicate what's inside the individual who's doing the communicating. So it's, value is way more intrinsic, is way more internal than I think people understand and think of it to be. Because even when people talk about the second house, a lot of times I hear them say, oh yeah, it's your values, it's your talents and gifts. And then they'll be like, oh, you can be an artist, or you could be this. But it's like, it's so much deeper than that. If you really want to take it there, it's really where your self-esteem is derived. But think about it like this: if your self-esteem, you only see your value through your talent of singing, what happens if you lose a vocal cord, like, your vocal cord snap and you can't sing no more. Or what happens when, if you're a painter and shit and your hand breaks. And it's like, again, you might feel worthless. And again, that's still something that could be taken away from you. But what can't be taken away is your essence, your spirit, and your perspective on things and stuff like that. Like, so yeah, what I'm saying? So to think a little deeper about where that value comes from might be called for, But now, again, in this case, the Venus squaring the moon, it's a challenge to ground that. Like, how do I ground that? And, again, you can ground it into anything. But the cool thing about, say, Taurus energy, and even like this square in general, Taurus energy and that Venus and Aquarius energy, it's like the cool thing about it is a product is like you can make a product out of anything. So whatever it is that you do have a value, you can create multiple products about that. You can, you know what I'm saying? It's like you can get creative to the point where it's a lot of things you can kind of derive from that internal space. It's just kind of knowing where the starting point is, basically, is what I'm getting at. Knowing where the starting point of your value is. And then from there, you can turn it into a factory. You could be like, okay, oh, I know where the starting point is. Now you could always produce something, which is like, again, you being an artist, yeah, you can sing, but that you understand where your value is. So yeah, you can sing, but then you could turn around and turn that singing into a movie, or you could turn that singing into a musical or play or this or that. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, there's so many things that you didn't offspring, from that one understanding the starting point of where your real talent is. Because you realize my talent is not just singing, it's the the type of stories I tell through my singing, or it's what I think about when I'm in the space of writing a song. I could take that same essence and put it into writing a movie or writing this or doing this, and you know what I'm saying? So yeah, just different ways to look at value. And yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because life, again, is what you make out of it. But yeah, one thing about Venus and Aquarius is just like, don't get stuck in that box. Don't stop, yeah, don't get stuck in that box and think about other things that kind of go go beyond that, just what every, the kind of cookie cutter value is. Look a little deeper in that. There might be a lot more to it than you think. Yeah. Now the let's see what else. So we got Mercury retrograde in Sag. So again, that's been kind of doing wonders because it's slowing down Sag to try to at least decipher or analyze some of these meanings and reasonings that we might be looking at the moment. And it's opposite Jupiter. So Jupiter and Mercury both being in retrograde, both opposite each other. It's kind of like, in a lot of ways, it's balancing things out. This is why a lot of the, again, bad advice is being kind of double backed on and saying, wait a minute, that didn't make no sense in the beginning. And we kind of seeing a little bit, people who get it, get it. You're looking at the advice that you was getting or given, and you like, wait a minute, I see where the flaw is in that. Or again, if this is a more on the internal end, you're seeing how, you're analyzing more about the reasons and meanings behind some of these experiences you've been going through. And it might start to actually make sense in some kind of like, weird way, because it's creating this balance, what I'm saying? It's like they're both retrograde, so they're both slowed down enough to understand that they're not in the right place and that something is going on, but then they're looking at each other from the opposite lens. So you got Jupiter trying to do Mercury type things, and you got Mercury trying to do Jupiterian like things, but Mercury is with the sun, and so kind of Mercury has to depend a little or lean a little bit on the sun to see what's going on, and it's kind of trying to decipher the meaning and reasoning. Jupiter is kind of just in Gemini trying to figure out what it is going on in the first place. But again, there's some balance there. Um, yeah. Now the moon being in conjunct Mercury is a misunderstanding what to think about some of these things that we might be experiencing as far as how it can be, this it's kind of like looking at the stability of it. Some people are going to be in certain circumstances where they see themselves getting stable. So it's going to be kind of that Mercury retrograde saying, oh, that's why I had to go through all that shit. That's why I had to do all that. It's kind of putting the pieces together, right? But then there's going to be a lot of people who might not feel secure in whatever they're doing. So that misunderstanding is it might start to, it could cause frustration. It could cause, um, the type of energy to make you want to kind of go extreme in a negative way, you know, because Mercury kind of more so misunderstanding it's not seeing no tangibility, it's not seeing nothing to be stable or secure in. So Mercury can kind of get a little scared, but try not to let the fear um drive you off a cliff. You know what I'm saying? Understand that you just need to kind of sit down and assess things, reassess things, because you might just be thinking about it wrong. So try not to develop too much anxiety based upon not seeing or understanding or feeling the security, there. Again, this is the energy where faith comes in too, where you're looking at your faith. Your faith might be, you might have to lean on faith a little bit more than you're used to. Again, have that discernment, but it might be one of those situations too where because of the misunderstanding between the moon and Mercury, you are looking at like, wait, hold on, I'm supposed to have faith in this, but I don't see no type of stability or no type of security from that. So, again, that might just be causing a lot more discomfort than you would like. Um, the moon is sextiling Saturn and Pisces, so the opportunity to um basically derive security and safety based upon what you've been what belief system has been making sense for you or creating reality around you. That's the thing with Saturn and Pisces. It's like our belief system is what is foundating or creating the reality around us. So again, if you see things around you that look pretty stable, then you can kind of bet that, hey, you know whatever my belief system is and what I've been kind of participating in subconsciously must be working in my favor. If not, then that's kind of an opportunity for you to kind of get real on it and start to kind of make some adjustments. Because keep in mind, we got next year we got some major movements. I think by March, Saturn touches Aries. I might be wrong, but yeah, Saturn is making this way to no, I think it might be Neptune that's moving into Aries by March, but Saturn is making its way into Aries. So things are gonna get a lot more all this kind of energy that we're getting to kind of participate in dreams and build with dreams and stuff like that. That vibe is going to completely switch in 2025. And a lot of time it's going to happen like kind of having a rug snatched from under you. Before you know it, all that whimsical inspiration, dreamy energy that's been pretty cool, even though it's frustrating, it's got its moments and it's might throw you off and might have you feel weird for going with the flow. Before you know it, it's going to get real, cutthroat. And it's not going to be a lot of space for all that kind of bouncing around, floating around type energy. It's going to be real wartime in a different kind of way, where again, you better know what you're fighting for, or you better know what that dream looked like. And that dream ain't no dream no more. It's actually you having to defend it. You having to make it happen every day. So you getting up and being responsible, the sole responsible individual for making that thing happen that's been on your mind or setting your, because even Saturn and you got to keep in mind Saturn falls in Aries, and you might wonder why. Well, let's look at Saturn being exalted in Libra as just understanding that teamwork makes the dream work. So any aspect of building in a sense of reality comes from its relation to the people around you and the people you're relating to and the ability to all agree on it and build. Well, Saturn and Aries is saying, well, fuck all that. You're going to have to get up every day and build it for yourself before you can even get to a point where others can respect it. You're going to have to make it work because it's not going to look workable to anybody else because, it's yours. And so if you think even 2025 being the year nine is going to put you in that space of, like I was saying before, mastery in the sense of you better be learning the ins and outs of you so that you can move with that level of authority and that level of integrity and that level of authenticity. That's the real word I'm looking for. You got to move like that first. And that's a lot of people's problems. People don't know how to move like things first. They want to wait for everybody else. And see, that's going to, again, separate the spiritual adults from the children, and the adults are the ones that's going to be setting the tone and kind of creating the spaces that for the next few years are going to become the new things to kind of be involved with. But at first, you're going to have to go through all that rejection and that scrutiny of just kind of being by yourself building something. And that's why also on the other end of things, community is so important and key, because if you ain't got other individuals around you who at least on the same type of time, you're going to be very alienated and by yourself during this time in which you're not really going to have a lot of help in general. See, right now, people don't feel the effects because, see, with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, it still feel like, well, if I have a pretty enough dream, other people will be inspired by it. It still seems like, well, if I just close my eyes and, click my heels and shit, people will be like, oh, yeah, I believe in you. Yeah, that sounds good. But you'll start to see, if you haven't already, that nothing moves unless you're moving. And that's kind of like a hidden thing with Saturn and Pisces. Nobody moves unless you're moving. It's like a funhouse mirror effect with Pisces. Pisces sometimes, like, that's the thing. Pisces is the feeling. We can feel all day, but feeling is different than doing. And the purpose of all this feeling is to set us up and motivate us to kind of have that inspiration behind and that meaning behind why we doing what we doing. And that's kind of, I feel like, what a lot of people are missing out on right now. They think it's time to chill. They think it's time to, like, talk about it and feel about it. But again, those who know this is different. This is why, again, I ain't gonna keep talking about myself, but hey, it's my channel, so I could do that a little bit. But it's like, again, these different things that we do, these programs, these things that we setting up are for the sake of kind of generating that type of energy, where it's like behind it, it's like, yeah, it seemed fun and it's like, oh yeah, connection. But that connection is so that when these energy shifts into Aries, there's real meaning behind what we're fighting for. There's real meaning and energy behind what it is that we're putting on front street, and kind of, again, Aries energy initiating what we can see. But what we see came from what we couldn't see, that was mutable, adaptable, and changeable, that we had to mold into something tangible. One thing to note is the third deacon of Pisces is Scorpio, a fixed energy. And I think that's the case with most of these energies. Yeah, I think that's damn near the case with every mutable sign. The third deacon of every mutable sign is a fixed sign. So that lets you know what the life cycle of a mutable energy is right there. Mutable energies start adaptable, changeable, and then they start to initiate something. And with that initiation leads to a fixated viewpoint that is really just an amalgamation of a bunch of different viewpoints. But that's what makes mutable energy so potent. And I'm saying this in the context of this Pisces energy, when we have Saturn and Neptune and its travel into 2025, it's like this is leading to something. And it's about more so fixating yourself in something so that when you initiate, you're initiating from a space of solidarity or clarity or together, you know what I'm saying? Like a solid energy. And I think that's what a lot of people might get fucked up. They might not take it as serious, and then when it gets serious, all of a sudden they're scattered, and you're trying to initiate from a scattered space. So this looks very reckless, and that's what you're going to see in 2025 too, especially near the end. A lot of people just being reckless, losing their mind. Year nine is powerful, but you could lose your mind in a year nine just because of what you think. Like, numerology number nine people or life path number nine people know what I'm talking about when I say you can lose your mind, because there's so much in that space the knowledge, the the wisdom, the know-how, but then the inability to kind of balance that out with what's going on reality wise and stuff like that. See, number nines know what I'm talking about, losing their mind at times because they just what they're thinking of is too expansive for what they're trying, the medium they're trying to fit their knowledge into. So sometimes they can break molds, they can break people, they can get around certain people and break their mind because of how intense they coming out of something. So they learn early on how to kind of like be more responsible, basically. Because as a number nine, you kind of like the spiritual parent. You can't just be giving all that to somebody who not prepared for it. And it's like giving a kid too much, giving a kid a loaded gun and just expecting the kid to be as knowledgeable as you. No, it's not gonna work like that. So you know that's what yeah, you're not gonna be kind of crazy 2025, but going forward again the next couple years beyond that, the community aspect of things is going to be so essential because you're going to need individuals around you who's willing to um pick up the pieces and work with you to build whatever it is that y'all together building. And that's gonna come with a lot of frustration. But the flip side of it, the positive side of it is y'all can do a lot of things that could be kind of just beneficial, if not just for y'all, but for the world in the sense of if y'all what y'all doing is for that. But yeah, that's one of the things, because the community aspect, that's really what like how we talk about Pluto and Aquarius, but that really is what we're leading into is being able to how do I put this? Like again, year nine, but then after year nine, we go back to year one. And that's again another singular energy. But not so much in the sense of like, I don't know. Well, yeah, I do know. It's like 227, right? 227. So it's more like relative, more about relations. So the relationship aspect of things, but then the seven. So, we'll have to kind of talk about that. That's 2027, and then there's 2026 before that. But yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and shit like that. But the whole community aspect of things is going to be, if you don't already see it now, you might just again, it's the type of thing that in the moment right now it might just seem like some internet stuff or some connecting stuff like, oh yeah, we just having fun, but it really is kind of like, even if we, because I don't want to make this too long because I know it's already long as hell, but it's like if we really talking about some of the even the new technologies being introduced and things like that, the way in which these things can potentially be used, it's just so important to have people around you who kind of on the same type of time you on, and y'all can kind of centralize and focus in on what y'all can build, you know, for those reasons. Because shit get weird, shit been weird, but um, yeah. But anyway, let's see what else we got. Yeah, I think that's about it for the moon, though. Yeah, I mean, we got some of these asteroids and stuff, but that's not going to be on this video breakdown. I think I just wanted to cover. I just wanted to kind of get back into the mix of things because I know I've been um away again, just trying to get things ready for class this semester. So if you already signed up, I sent out some orientation packages, but I got some more to send out. So if you haven't received your orientation package, you will be getting that before the end of the week. And for, like I said before, like we having our registration is open now. Just send me an email at 717conference.info@gmail.com with E1T1 in the subject line, and I'll get you all that sign up information. Again, it's a community-based learning network. Each one teach one. And yeah, just some real powerful things going on in that space. And the best part about it is, again, we get to not only get the knowledge and information to everybody, but we also get to build with one another, collaboration, and all those different things, building rapport with one another. These are the type of things that's actually going to make a difference um, moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Again, especially nowadays, because anything you're trying to build, you're gonna have to figure out a new creative way to collaborate and bring it together with other people. So, why not do it from a space of us all learning, and wanting to learn the same kind of things, type of things. So, real dope. Like I said, please, what I'm saying, feel free to hit me up. Um, yeah, I feel like I wanted to say more about Venus and Aquarius, but um, yeah, I don't think it's really coming to me right now. It's just kind of like one thing to note. Yeah, it's kind of like valuing, start to value, because one thing about Aquarius is like your own mind, and having that uniqueness, having your own mind. It's a fixated thought, and that uniqueness matched with Sagittarius energy. Again, there's a lot of powerful things that could come from that. Um, some people are gonna find themselves more so on the end of trying to distance themselves from things, but for those who are looking to kind of travel deeper into their own mind and kind of figure out new ways to kind of bring things from that space and then bring it into reality and stuff like that. It's like this is a powerful energy for that. Um, Again, we in the end of the fall time, so there's a lot of potential to start to build on things, or it's the transition. We're going into the death season, so it's like putting death to things, but so new things can grow. So keep in mind that, and also keep in mind that the year don't stop on the first. So a lot of people gonna be having that energy of oh, it's a new year, but y'all know the truth is like we still got a whole new, we still got a whole season to go through. So this is more so like a preparation for that last little leg. So don't feel like you have to rush anything at the moment right now. Don't feel like you got to rush to the finish line. You want to move into Capricorn with a plan of action, and you want to move at a certain pace that's right for you. Don't feel pressured to kind of go and run the race and trip over things, unless you, again, everybody in different circumstances. So if you got a different situation going on, do you? But yeah, I would say keep in mind that the year ain't finished yet. We got a whole season left. So it's more so about finishing strong and consistently rather than trying to do everything in 2 weeks because their calendar said that that's what it does when the energy don't even match that. So, just kind of keep that in mind, and we're gonna keep rocking. And then for the full moon and things like that, just keep in mind too, this is gonna be being fully satisfied in our Gemini energy, which is gonna be thinking familiar thoughts and feelings, the thoughts and feelings, mentalities that you frequent. So, you know, all of this long distance travel is to bring it back home to create a new sense of familiarity with this new space. Um, what we feel now and kind of how we handle our emotions currently, if we carry that into Gemini, that's going to be expanded. So keep a close eye on what's on your heart, and again, try to not just try not to lean too heavily on escapism. Look to, expand yourself by kind of going through some of the more tough decisions and going through some of the more tough, the things that require you to kind of step into that responsibility. And I say step into that responsibility, but I mean like, move towards the things that push you to apply your wisdom, like what you got to start testing that. So apply your wisdom, move with integrity, move like you know what you're doing. And if you don't be afraid to ask questions. Get curious about life. Get curious about those things that drive you insane into that same cycle so that you can start to heal yourself in those ways and again continue to progress as a spirit. And yeah, that's it. Much love, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Yeah, I'm on a pad, but hitting the gas, ain't stopping for shit, I got vision, ho. I hit the dash, no salt on my pass, I had to go through it, now niggas know. Some had it bad, I made it way better, I looked at the cheddar and made some more. Ain't calling you back, the shit that you asking, really, you probably don't need to know.